Hey everybody, it's Dave Wentworth with DestinationWhatever.com, and I'm here with another Monday Express travel presentation. That's right, Monday evenings we do these 30-minute travel presentations to give you info on travel destinations, give you some travel inspiration, get you thinking about some ideas. And today we are doing a domestic destination that I've been getting a lot of requests for, and I've been seeing a lot of bookings for, and that is a trip to Newfoundland and Labrador. So let's take advantage of the next 30 minutes and let's take a trip to the Rock. I'm going to put on the screen for you now and we'll hit the road. Okay, great. Newfoundland and Labrador Express Escape. So again, my name is Dave Wentworth with Destination Whatever. That's my travel business, my travel agency. I'm a travel agent and travel agency owner. And so a bit about what I do, what makes me a number one expert in travel is I work with travelers looking to go on small group tours, expedition trips, which we'll look at a few of those tonight in Newfoundland and Labrador. River and ocean cruising, certainly ocean cruising will come up tonight. Adventures for all, everybody can participate in adventures, and adventure is such a diverse word, it can mean so many things. I like unique destinations, and today we will be going to all the nooks and crannies of Newfoundland and Labrador. And I like doing customized itineraries. And so a bit about my background is that I have a background academically in international development studies, and I've traveled to almost 40 countries on 6 continents. Domestically, I've been to Newfoundland a few times. It's a place I love. And I have experience working with Canadians coast to coast. That's another thing I like to point out. So whether you're watching from St. John's, Newfoundland, or all the way in Victoria, BC, maybe up in Beaver Creek, Yukon Territory, no matter where you are, I'm here to connect with you. So you can reach out through my website and discover a little bit more about what I do, my passion for languages, arts and culture, and just learning about the world and sharing the world, sharing that experience with you. If you have any travel questions, I'm unable to facilitate those during the 30-minute presentation, but I would invite you just to zip over to my website. You can click on this icon and submit your questions to me at any time, and then I can have the pleasure of giving you a personalized response. So just head on over to destinationwhatever.com and let me have your travel questions. Also, while you're on my website, you can book a Zoom with me if you want to interact through Zoom. I offer 30-minute complimentary Zoom. It's a great way if you want to chit chat about a travel idea. Maybe you have a yearning for some knowledge on something that I can help you with. Whatever it might be, just reach out and express yourself. Let me know that you'd like to have a Zoom. And again, that would be my pleasure to get that scheduled in and make a Zoom connection with you. So find that on my website at destinationwhatever.com. All right, let's get going into tonight's travel presentation and start by learning a little bit more about our host destination. So tonight we are looking at Newfoundland and Labrador. And it's Canada's easternmost province, and it's also Canada's newest province, having joined Canadian Confederation in 1949. And the island, it separates, we have the island of Newfoundland. We also have Labrador. It's attached to Quebec. There's a small bit of water in between there, the Strait of Belle Isle. We'll look at that here in a little bit and how you can get across that. And another interesting thing about Newfoundland and Labrador is that the sun rises first in Newfoundland at Cape Spear, and we'll be seeing some pictures of that. And St. John's is the oldest English founded city in North America, going back to 1620. But you can even go further back in history as Newfoundland began as a fishing station in 1497. So here we would find some of the oldest history that is in Canada from a European perspective. There's another map showing you Newfoundland and Labrador and how far east it is in Canada. Newfoundland is known for its breathtaking coastline, and certainly here's a breathtaking location, the Fogo Island Inn on Fogo Island. Newfoundland has one of the most extensive and rugged coastlines in the world. Its coastline features fjords, cliffs, and numerous bays, and it's a haven for wildlife and it has spectacular views. Really, a lot of travelers who visit this province say that around every corner they are amazed and awestruck with beautiful scenery and great geography, great coastline. So, all sorts of things to look at. Newfoundland and Labrador also is geographically impacted because it is part of the northern range of the Appalachian Mountains. So that's a large mountain range that goes all the way up the US and in through, well, from New England into Atlantic Canada and all the way out to Newfoundland. And one area that you can see that in Newfoundland and Labrador is at Gross Moor National Park. That's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And when we look at our tours towards the end of tonight's Express Escape, we can see some opportunities to visit Gross Moor. Because all the tours go there, everybody wants to go and see this landscape in Western Newfoundland. Newfoundland and Labrador has been a popular destination for a long time. So even though it is the newest Canadian province, it has been attracting visitors from before that time. People have wanted to go to Newfoundland and Labrador since the beginning, you could say. And as transportation got better going to Newfoundland, both ferries getting over to Newfoundland, but also the Trans-Canada going across Newfoundland, which was completed in the early 60s, these things set the stage to open the door for more people to come to Newfoundland and Labrador. How exciting! You could get your car out to Nova Scotia, hop on a ferry, and bring your car over to Newfoundland and motor across the island. So, as transportation increases, so too does the opportunity for tourism. We have a lot of people now who would fly into Newfoundland. Newfoundland has some significant airports, and you might think, well, they don't get a lot of flights. How are they significant? Airports like Gander set the stage for the beginning of transatlantic flights across to Europe. It was very important, and at that time, many people would have been stopping through. Today, it is one of the airports that could be a gateway for your vacation to Newfoundland and Labrador. Newfoundland has just a lot of connections with transatlantic communication, from the first telegraph to simply John Cabot seeing the New World, and we'll see that at Bonavista here in a few slides. Newfoundland and Labrador, here's another map. The yellow dots would represent your towns or community of importance. And also I've identified the French islands of St. Pierre because I think those are really cool and really special. And you've practically got to get through Newfoundland to get out to St. Pierre. Capital city would be St. John's. That's located in the east. It is the easternmost capital city in Canada. The population of Newfoundland and Labrador is about 540,000 people, and the majority of the population lives on the island of Newfoundland. Only about 6% live up in Labrador. And out of the population in Newfoundland, the majority of those are mainly in the St. John's metro area out on the Avalon Peninsula. So that's how the population would be dispersed across Newfoundland. And as I was saying, not to be overlooked, Newfoundland is an island, but then it has a number of neighboring islands or islands within its waters that count as Newfoundland. And so I'm talking about places like Fogo Island, which we saw a few slides ago. But then again, St. Pierre and Miquelon, these are islands that belong to France. There's about 6,500 French citizens that live on those islands, and you can take a ferry over from Fortune to St. Pierre, or you can fly. And we'll have some examples of touring and travel possibilities that include St. Pierre coming up in a few minutes. Also, on the topic of transportation, we need to talk about getting there. So obviously it's an island. You've got two ways to do it. Number one would be to take the ferry, and the ferries start in North Sydney, Nova Scotia on Cape Breton Island. And the first ferry that goes year round, it goes twice a day, a daytime and a nighttime sailing, goes to Port aux Basques, and that's 6 hours, 45 minutes. And then seasonally, meaning in the summer and the warmer months, you can take a ferry to Argentia. That's located much closer to St. John's. It's a longer ferry at 16 hours each way. And just to round up the major airports, you could look at St. John's, then Deer Lake if you're looking to go into Western Newfoundland. There's Gander Airport located in central Newfoundland. And then, of course, in Labrador, Happy Valley Goose Bay and Labrador City, Wabush are some airports up there. If you're taking the ferry, this is what it would look like nowadays, and also the original ferry service. The ferry has been operating for over 125 years, and you can see it's definitely undergone some modernization of its fleet over the years. Another cool way, I've been mentioning Labrador a few times. Labrador has a coastal service, a ferry service that I think if more people knew about, more people would be drawn to doing something like this. Labrador is attached to Quebec. It shares borders with Quebec. The first ferry, and I do hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, the Kajak ferry, links Newfoundland to southern Labrador. It goes across the Strait of Belle Isle. It takes 300 passengers and over 100 vehicles, and it takes an hour 45 minutes to make that crossing. That's pretty quick and easy, and that brings you into the south of Labrador. We'll be seeing some examples of like Red Bay coming up, and so that's how you would get to those areas. And then from Happy Valley Goose Bay, you can go all the way up to Nain. So it goes through all these different towns like Rigolette and Postville and Hopedale, all the way up to Nain. And that's on the Hamudik, I hope again I'm saying that correctly, ferry. And these ferries were introduced in 2019. There are some newer ferries. I understand they are from Norway originally, and now they're sailing in these waters. And so there's cabins on the ferry that goes up to Nain. That one does take a little bit longer, but this is an example of what the ferry looks like going across the Strait of Belle Isle. And then a bit of a closer look at the geography of the ferry that goes from Happy Valley Goose Bay up to Nain. So again, it goes into a number of communities, and the crossing times are there as well. So this can definitely add up. It can take, it's greater than a day to do the sailing. So we can look at the cabins on board. And here's an example of what that ferry looks like, and a picture of a cabin with 4-person occupancy, and also where you would get your meals on board the ferry. If you're getting around Newfoundland and well, for parts of Labrador as well, self-driving is a common way people would do it. They could rent a car at any of the major airports, let's say. And again, if you don't want to drive, you can look at some organized tours. That's where I'm going to help out with some ideas. And again, even some sailings around the island. So if you want to have a real marine vibe, we can definitely work with that. I've included this picture though because it does have a moose. Newfoundland is notorious for the number of moose on the island, and they can be a menace on the roads. And so especially driving at night or at dawn or at dusk or in areas that have known moose populations certainly can give you some unwanted trouble. So you want to be mindful when you're driving on Newfoundland's roads of the moose. But the roads otherwise, it's Canadian driving culture. So if you can drive in Canada, you can drive in Newfoundland. I like this picture of Newfoundland, this map, if you will. Just has, again, some icons on here that would be part of the visitor's exploration. We have some whale watching, we have the puffins, we have those moose coming back as well. If you want to drive from St. John's to Port aux Basques, it's about 900 kilometers, give or take. It's going to take 9 hours, but then, of course, you're going to add your stopping time on top of that. All right, Newfoundland Labrador has 5 regions. So again, up at the top, it's Labrador. That's the mainland component. And then we would have Western Newfoundland from Port aux Basques up to St. Anthony. So that's about 700 kilometers of coastline there. Western Newfoundland has a different vibe than you're going to find out in Eastern Newfoundland, out in the Avalon. In the middle, we have Central Newfoundland, where Gander, Grand Falls are, Fogo Island, the Elliston Puffins. And then below that, we have Southern Newfoundland, which is very, very desolate. There's not a lot of communities there. There are communities that once were, but have now been resettled. And you can see these ghost towns or small towns that are only accessible by ferry link. So it's a very interesting part. And again, I'll have some itineraries coming up in a few minutes on that. And then finally, Eastern Newfoundland. So again, where most of the population would be concentrated, where you're going to find St. John's, where you're going to find some of the urban fixtures on the island. Mozzie weather. Mozzie's a Newfoundland word. Of course, Newfoundland is known for its unique language, and I'm totally here for it. Mozzie, I guess, could be used to describe a fresh, foggy, warm day like you have pictured here. So when it suns in Newfoundland, it looks great, and the skies are blue, and we've got pictures of that coming up, but you can also get a lot of this weather where it's like thick pea soup fog. Newfoundland winters have snow and freezing temperatures, and so with snow coming in the winter and precipitation coming at other times of the year, this is definitely a moist, wet North Atlantic environment with colder temperatures. It definitely can be cold when the wind is coming off the North Atlantic. So even in summer, we would want to think about bringing warmer clothing, like a hoodie, like I'm wearing, or windbreakers, things like that. All right, let's take a look at some must-see sites in Newfoundland and Labrador. This island is just jam-packed with so much to do. And again, there's the coastline, there's the historical things, so many photographic things. So let's take a look at just a few. I made a roundup of some of the key sites and some of the interesting sites that I think that this province offers. First and foremost, Terra Nova National Park. This is one of three national parks that you can find in Newfoundland and Labrador. We'll look at all three of them tonight. This Terra Nova National Park is located closest to St. John's, between St. John's and Gander. And you could stop here, and it's a great way to see where the coastline meets the thick forest of Newfoundland's heart. And so it's these two ecosystems coming together. This would be the second national park, Gros Morne. We'll be looking at Gros Morne a number of times this evening. Much more dramatic landscape that's been influenced by glacier impacts, the Appalachian Mountain Range. Further north, up past St. Anthony, is L'Anse aux Meadows, and this is a very interesting site, and for a lot of people, a must-do. It's where Viking settlement dates back to the year 1000 and was recently, and when I say recent, I mean in the 1960s, unearthed by archaeologists. And so now we have a historic site that shows European contact pre-Columbus era. And I always thought the name L'Anse aux Meadows was interesting because L'Anse is French for cove, and meadows is, of course, an English word. We know what a meadow is. But I read recently that the name may have actually had a more French influence, L'Anse à Méduse, Méduse being for jellyfish, like Medusa. And so maybe there were jellyfish at this cove when the Vikings were there, and that could be the origin of the name L'Anse aux Meadows, L'Anse à Méduse. Iceberg Alley. So in central Newfoundland, there's a great opportunity to see icebergs as they drift through the North Atlantic. And I think that looks really cool when you have these great picturesque communities. And then the icebergs, we can tell by the dandelions on the grass on people's lawns that this is a summertime picture, and yet those icebergs are floating by. So again, just be thinking about that. Again, when you're packing for your trip to Newfoundland and Labrador, that cold chill off the water. Signal Hill, where signal was sent over the Atlantic Ocean historically. So again, another way that it demonstrates Newfoundland's connection to transatlantic communication history. That's in St. John's. Also, just outside of St. John's is Kitty Vitty. That's a charming spot to go, and it's fun to say. And there's a brewery that you can check out, so you can definitely have a fun day checking out Kitty Vitty. This is what the St. John's Harbor looks like. So you can see it comes in from the Atlantic Ocean. And again, this is the biggest city in Newfoundland. Get a look at it now, folks. St. John's also has its colorful homes. Of course, very famous are the Jellybean Row Houses. People love to take pictures there. So many Instagrammable moments in Newfoundland and Labrador. Cape Spear, where the sun rises first, the easternmost point in North America. Then moving on from there, we have Fogo Island. So this would be located north of Gander, and you would take a small ferry over to Fogo Island. And what you're looking at here is the Fogo Island Inn, which is a very well-known tourism option for visitors in Fogo Island, and it offers a unique way to interact with the culture. And there's a lot of promotion of sustainable tourism and integrating the local cultures in a very authentic way for people who choose to stay here. So it can be a really lovely experience. Just beautiful Fogo Island. Not too far from there is Twillingate. We'll see that come up. And some tours. We have Trinity, which is beautiful. You can see again, this is a summertime picture with those beautiful lupins. And yet in the back, there's still a piece of an iceberg and those beautiful colors on those homes. Really sets the scene. Bonavista is an important spot to go and visit because it was here that John Cabot first gained sight of the New World in his explorations in the late 1400s. And in addition to the Bonavista Lighthouse, you can also see information in Bonavista. There's a historical interpretive center about the Matthew, the ship that Cabot used in those explorations. Not too far from there, you could find the Elliston Puffin viewing site. It looks like this, and then you can get up close and personal and see puffins, the provincial bird of Newfoundland and Labrador. Okay, and obviously I have to mention the town of Dildo. But again, to go back to the French language, maybe it's d'Île d'Eau. D'Île d'Eau would be French for island of the water, island on the water. And if you think otherwise, I will let you believe that. But the town of Dildo is a place where a lot of people like to go and have a laugh and do a selfie. And you all know why they want to do that. All right, before I get into the tours, I want to talk about the traditional foods of Newfoundland and Labrador. Let's get right into Toutons. Toutons are kind of like a pancake, I guess you could say. The touton is, I would do it as a breakfast food. It's pan fried. It could be served with molasses, although I saw recently on YouTube somebody was putting a breakfast sandwich in there. So these are basically a fry bread that you can have. And that first picture back there too is Jig's Dinner. I don't want to go by without identifying Jig's Dinner. That's a provincial staple. Hey, another thing a lot of people like to do, you can pick cloudberries or bake apples on Fogo Island. That's one of the experiences that you can do at the Fogo Island Inn. But anyway, bake apple jam, maybe on your Toutons. Of course, moose meat with all those moose. I'm gonna have somebody make you some moose. A cold plate. This makes me think of Newfoundland. This makes me think of Newfoundland in the summer when it might be too hot to heat up the kitchen, and you could have a nice cold plate with some salads and sliced meats. Another Newfoundland dish, fish and brews with scrunchions, which are fried pork fat. And so this is a very humble food, and it does represent the island's connection to fishing lifestyle, simple ingredients, root vegetables, and making flavorful dishes with salt cod. So fish and brews would start with salt cod being soaked, and then being cooked together with potatoes and hard bread, which is a bread that was preferred back then because of its longer shelf life. This is Newfoundland, people getting screeched. The image should show a screeching certificate and just different people getting screeched in. So if we're talking about food and drink in Newfoundland, getting screeched in would be taking a shot of screech. It's a rum liqueur, and you recite a passage and you kiss a cod. And this is a way to be formally welcomed onto the island. Okay, let's take a look at some tours here that we can do in Newfoundland, because if you want gotten this far, maybe you're thinking, I need to go to Newfoundland. So what I'm going to do is show you some options coming up for this summer that you can book for trips to Newfoundland and Labrador. The first is the Newfoundland Circumnavigation. This is a one-off sailing for 2024. It happens June 16th to 27th with Adventure Canada. If you can't make it this year, another option could be October 1st to 12th, 2025. It is pre-booking already for 2025 on this small ship, the Ocean Endeavor. And basically, this starts and ends in St. John's, and it goes all the way around the island, taking in some places in Labrador as well, up by Red Bay. Let's take a closer look at this itinerary. This would be the ship, the Ocean Endeavor. It's spacious. It's an ice-strengthened vessel that has 20 zodiacs, a Polaris restaurant on board. There's a spa, a library, a hot tub. If you enjoy educational travel, insightful travel, this can be a really cool way to go. This is an example of what a departure would look like, with passengers leaving St. John's on day one, getting ready for their circumnavigation. Soon they're off into the charming communities, these colorful outpost communities that dot the island. And you can see here they're getting around on the zodiacs. They get up to Lanza Meadow and check out the Viking archaeology that was just speaking about a few slides ago. Going over to Labrador and checking out Red Bay, which was a Basque whaling town if you go back hundreds of years ago. Working our way down the coast to Grossmore National Park and Woody Point, so that dramatic glacial impacted landscape, the Appalachian Mountain impacted landscape. Coming around the southern coast of Newfoundland, which I think makes this really cool because now you're getting out into those communities that are only accessible a few times a week by small ferry, or seeing communities that have been left to time, resettled communities that have been left for decades and decades and decades. Also really cool, while you're on the south coast, you get to learn about Newfoundland's Mi'kmaq culture. You'll also get to stop in Saint-Pierre and have a day in France, having exploration. You can see the travelers in this picture that she has her French flag because they are in France. And when you are in Saint-Pierre, you are spending euros. It is a genuine French experience just off the coast of Newfoundland. Finally, this circumnavigation would come back to St. John's on day 12. So this is a 12-day sailing. I think if you were to add a few days in St. John's on the front or the back of this, it would become a really nice 2-week trip. Adventure Canada also offers this summer, July 18th to 22nd, sailing that starts in Saint-Pierre and works its way up the west coast, all the way up to through Labrador. If you are looking for an opportunity to gain access and visit a lesser known Canadian coastline, this would certainly take you there. Also, some really cool ways to interact with First Nations culture as you work your way up the coast of Labrador. So let's take a look at that. So again, this one is going to start in St. Pierre. You can fly into St. Pierre from Halifax to St. John's, or if you're in St. John's, they can arrange, you can join a charter flight that they have set to fly you in for embarkation. But you can see from this picture, from some of the architecture, the signage, it is genuinely France. There's even little cobblestone streets and the European-styled license plates on the vehicles. From here, you're going to explore that lesser visited, uninhabited southern coast of Newfoundland. Day 2 and 3 is dedicated to that. Day 4, you're going to have your experience in Gros Morne. Day 5, you're going to go over towards Battle Harbor. This would be a 19th century restored fishing village. Day 6, we're exploring the southern Labrador coast. So you can see that the landscape is getting much more dramatic. We're going to go further north on day 7, experiencing Inuit culture in Nain, the northernmost inhabited town in Newfoundland and Labrador. And there it is. Further north, this expedition sailing will take you to Hebron, which is a preserved mission that has history dating back to the 1830s. You'll go further north for touring that's led by Inuit guides in the Torngat Mountains. The Torngats is the 3rd national park of Newfoundland and Labrador. You really can't go much further north than this. And then day 13 and 14, you'll cross the Hudson Strait and Frobisher Bay, where finally on day 15, you'll disembark. You'll reach Iqaluit, the capital of Nunavut, Canada's newest territory. And if you want to fly out of Nunavut, out of Iqaluit, you can join a disembarkation charter flight that they have arranged for 900 US per person, or you can stay on and book one of the airlines that services Iqaluit. If those things don't appeal to you, if you want to stay on the land, the next two tours will round out tonight's presentation and give you some ideas. So Newfoundland Adventure, which can be done eastbound or westbound, is offered by Intrepid Travel. This is currently on sale for a few days left. So if you're watching this in real time and you want to take advantage, please reach out through my website and we can get that set up for you right away. This one's a great week going across Newfoundland. You can go from St. John's to Deer Lake or back the other way. It includes a transfer from Deer Lake Airport out to Gross Moor or vice versa. So that's really handy. You're going to see the beautiful town of Twillingate, which is near Fogo Island. You're going to see Bonavista Lighthouse. You're going to see the Elliston Puffins, the beautiful town of Trinity, which if you watch the movie Shipping News, some of that was filmed in Trinity. It's a beautiful town, very Instagrammable. And of course, St. John's with all of its sites, its nightlife, George Street, its bars, you name it. So again, if this appeals to you, it's currently on sale up until March 6th. Please reach out and we can get you booked on this one. It's a small group with only 12 people maximum and minimum age of 15. So if you're thinking a summer vacation, it could be a great idea, but do act quickly because those 12 spaces can fill up rather quick. Finally, Globus Journeys offers their presentation of Newfoundland and Labrador. This goes a little bit longer. It's 12 days and it's currently on sale with their promotion happening until the end of April 30th. Of course, that's while availability lasts. Some of their tours are already booking up, so I wouldn't dawdle on this one. 12 days starting in St. John's, ending in Corner Brook or the other way around. And you get it all on this one. You're going up to St. Anthony's. You're going to see Lawns and Meadows. You're going to see the Viking sites. You're going to go over to Red Bay, the Labrador coastline there, the southern Labrador coastline, taking the ferry. You have central Newfoundland represented here with Gander, Twillingate, Terra Nova National Park, again, the town of Trinity, Cape Bonavista, all of that is included. And then finally, time in St. John's. So, I mean, at 12 days, this would compare to the first option I showed, the exploration cruise, but it's 12 days on the land. So it's still the same amount of time, but a different way to go about doing it. All right, folks. That's about it for Newfoundland and Labrador. If you want to check out a recorded presentation, this presentation will be recorded and put on the website, and past travel presentations are available on my website. Just head on over to destinationwhatever.com. In addition to seeing recordings of past presentations, I also have my schedule for upcoming talks. Hey, let's take a look at that. So my upcoming talks, I have 2 of them scheduled for the month of March. You can join me on March 13th. I'll be doing my presentation on Amazon jungle. I went down to the Amazon last summer. I did my 1-week expedition river cruise and got all up in the jungle. So you can hear all about that, what it was like on board, what I ate in the Amazon, what I did in the Amazon, how I filled my days in the Amazon, and how the Amazon filled my heart. And then at the end of the month, I'm already ramping up for spring. I'm thinking tulips and windmills, and I'm taking you to the Netherlands on March 25th, and we'll look at some fun tours there. But particularly if you're into cycling or river cruises, or just simply thinking about Europe, now is the time to be thinking about your 2024 trip to Europe. Come join me on March 25th as we take a 30-minute trip to the Netherlands. If you need to reach out, or if you'd like to reach out, I'd like you to reach out. You can contact me on my website. Just zip on over to destinationwhatever.com and you can interact with me on my social media channels. I'm on Facebook at Destination Whatever and on Instagram at destinationwhatever.travel. All right, folks, this is me, Destination Whatever. Think about me for custom itineraries, small group tours, adventure travel, and cruising. I'm the #1 travel agency and I'm a lot of fun. And I got a lot of great ideas and concepts. Because when you work with me, my strategy is no additional fees. I'll get that from the tours that we book together. But I'd like to share my concepts, my knowledge, and my experience of the world so that we can partner together and build a really amazing trip, something that's going to take you to like some of the sites we saw today in Newfoundland. There's just so much out there, and together we can discover the world. So I hope to see you or interact with you at another Zoom travel talk. In the meantime, take care and just remember my website, destinationwhatever.com. Have a great night, folks. Thanks.